Welcome to the Plugged In Golf Podcast. I'm Matt Saturnus, and this week's episode we're going to do a This Week in Gear, and we're going to answer the second half of our mailbag reader questions that came in a couple weeks ago. I have a lot more really good questions to get through. So we'll do This Week in Gear first, and the two things I want to highlight are the first, the Tour Aim Plus. When I find a training aid that I like, I really can't talk enough about it because there are just so many bad training aids out there, and training aids are really a big thing for me. I think training aids can be super helpful. I think really good training aids are rare and they're great and they should be talked about a lot. And I think there are so many bad training aids out there that we need to talk about those too and say, don't use them. So this is the Tour Aim Plus. Now put this in front of my face too badly. Um, it just clips onto an alignment stick. It's very, very simple. What I love about this is it solves basic problems of practice, but it solves them really well. We've all seen infomercials where it's like, oh, here's some product that's going to solve your daily problem. And it doesn't. It works in the infomercial and then that's it. This is fantastic. This actually does what it claims to do. It's so, so good. You can see if you're watching on YouTube, and I would love it if you guys all came over to YouTube and checked that out and got the views up and all that. But and those of you who are on YouTube, thanks for being here. Like and subscribe and all that. This just clips onto an alignment stick. What it gives you is a way to check ball position. So you obviously you would line up this stick with the ball, and then that would show you also where your feet are in relative position to the ball. It also gives you a way to square your club face, so you can put your club face right up against this before you swing. And I think that's huge. I see a lot of people using alignment sticks, but their club face and their grip are still all cattywampus. So this is great for that. It also lets you use a tee when you're on a mat, a real tee. So anybody who's serious about their practice, who's serious about hitting driver in a dome or on a mat, on a range like that, you spend the first 5 minutes of your session going around and trying to find where's the tee that's actually the height that I like. And I think, again, if you're serious, tee height really matters to your practice, to the way that you play. With this, you can actually put a real tee in there and have that nice consistency without running around the range trying to swap tees with people. So this is great. Go find the review on the website. Just search Tour Aim Plus, and there's a coupon and a link there for either 10 or 15% off the Tour Aim Plus, anything you want to get there. The second thing that we'll talk about today is the Titleist GT Woods, which mine just came in last week. And we'll start with the GT3 Driver here. Try and find the position. There we go. This is fantastic. They're calling it generational technology, and generational, okay, maybe a little stretch, maybe a little hyperbole. But I will say this is more than just the normal iterative generation to generation getting a little bit better. This is a really substantial jump up from TSR, and I thought TSR was great. And where I see that jump is the forgiveness in the GT3. Matt Meeker and I both got fit into the GT3. We were both expecting to be in the GT2, the bigger, more forgiving head. They're both 460, but the GT2 is a bigger footprint, looks bigger. I've been fit for the last 3 generations of Titleist drivers, and it's always the 2. Because for forever, since I've been playing golf, I've always wanted max forgiveness off the tee. I know that I'm just not the most accurate driver. I can get a little bit, all over the face. So I take forgiveness at all times. But with this, they've got the polymer crown. They saved a lot of weight there. And they were able to use that to make the GT3 more forgiving. So now I get the advantage of the adjustable CG, which I definitely need or benefit from at least in terms of not hooking it. And I also get a lot of forgiveness and stability. Meeker, backing up a little bit, what I think is so cool about the GT3 is it's the first time Meeker and I have really ever been fit into the same thing. We're separated by about 30 miles an hour of swing speed. I hit it all over the face. He's really consistent. I spray it. He's down the middle. and we're playing the same driver because it's that good. It's forgiving and it's adjustable and it looks awesome. So mid-launch, mid-low spin. Again, a lot of adjustability here across the CG track, and their hosel is really strong. The fact that it's not intuitive in terms of the A1, what is A1 versus B4, not amazing, right? But we've all got phones. We can Google the Titleist chart in 2 seconds, and this does give you 16 positions of loft and lie, and it's super impactful. So just an amazing driver. They just crushed it with this. I think if you're looking for a driver for late in the year, if you're playing all winter, if you're in a place where they don't have winter, good for you. Check this out. The other thing I'll put on screen here, I also got the GT3 fairway wood to match. For me, this was a lot stronger ball flight than I was seeing with my gamer. TBD as to whether or not this will make the bag. I'm leaning toward the GT3 Driver going in the bag. I think that's close to a lock. This, I want to see more. It elevated really nicely in my testing in the fitting, but just elevated to a slightly lower peak height. I'll be curious to see if I can keep elevating this and I can keep finding that same level of distance increase that I saw over my gamer. Then this will go in the bag too, and I'll have Titleist woods, which, I never thought I'd play. I was a ping guy for a long time with my driver, just nothing but ping because it was the most forgiving. Went to the PXG for a couple years, and I still think that's an amazing driver. That still may stay in the bag. We'll see. But it just speaks to how much forgiveness all the OEMs have packed in, and obviously Titleist specifically, that we can take a club that is perceived as, that's a player's club, that's a tour club, and now somebody like me who needs forgiveness in the driver, in the woods, is playing that, maybe in the driver and 3-wood. So very cool stuff there. Check out the reviews. There's, for the data and more stuff on the looks, specifically the sound and all that. Let's go ahead and dive into the reader questions, and thank you again to anybody who sent these in. I'll start off with one that is not a question so much as Corey Travers saying, get rid of the handicap system. Corey, I couldn't disagree more. I think the handicap system is one of the best things about golf. With the handicap system, I can play golf with anybody. Scotty Scheffler was talking about a week or so ago. He plays like off a +7 when he plays at home. So the best golfer in the world can play with his friends in this very easy way. We have this simple system. If I were to play basketball against LeBron James, he could spot me 10 in a game to 11. He'd still win. That handicap wouldn't matter. He would just dominate me. Say, I can't play with my dad. My dad can't play basketball anymore, right? But if he could, again, I could spot him 10 and he'd never beat me because it doesn't translate. We can't handicap football. We can't really handicap baseball. You can't handicap tennis. But golf, we can all go out, play the same course, maybe play some different tees, but between that and the handicap, we can make it pretty square and all compete across different ages and abilities. And I think it's great. I don't think the handicap system is perfect by any means for a variety of reasons, most of them involving humans. You can't really get around the human element that some people cheat. But so yeah, Corey, I'd love to hear a follow-up as to why you think we should get rid of it, but I don't agree. Nancy H asked, what are the top 5 AI products and what's coming next? So I don't know what's coming next. And there's going to be another question where I'm going to say the same thing. I don't know what's coming next. I don't know if you're asking about products developed with AI, because a lot of clubs now, almost every club, says developed with AI, right? Callaway's putting AI in every club. That's fine. I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to rank the top 5 clubs. What I will say that I've seen is really interesting is something called Mustard Golf. And it's a golf instruction app that claims to use AI to analyze your swing. And it's pretty good. The review is not up yet. It'll be up hopefully soon. But sneak preview is, I used it and I was really surprised. I was ready to just say, not reviewing this. This is not good enough. Or write a review that said it's not very good. I put one swing on film and it said, hey, what about this? I said, oh, I haven't thought about that in a while. I started doing it. It's like, oh, started hitting a lot better. So I was pretty impressed with it. Um, again, I'll wait for the review to talk about the pricing of all that on that specific app. But I think there's a lot of places where AI could help with instruction, with strategy. We have all this shot tracking now with shot scope, um, things like shot pattern, um, the decade system. When we can use AI to automate some of that stuff, where you don't even have to make the decision as a golfer, it's almost just like an automatic caddy, and it's a little more seamless than it is now. I think that's going to be really cool. So, I got a question. What is my preference for time of day to play? I'm a morning person. I always get up very, very early. I love to play early. I hate waiting to do anything. I saw a TikTok recently where this woman was making the joke that I have an appointment at 3:30, so of course it's noon and I'm just sitting here paralyzed waiting for this 3:30 appointment. That is, I felt that. That is my life also. So I want the early tee time. I like dew sweeping. I like playing fast and just having that. It's funny, you say get that out of the way. I was going to say get that out of the way as if golf is something you want to be done with. I don't want to be done with it, but I want to know that it's in my day early and I want to play at the pace I want to play at. So maybe the better way to say that is I want to get the first 18 done so I can get on to the second 18. That would be very ambitious and what I would hope for. Really good question here. What's the best way to gain swing speed? Any of the speed training programs that I've reviewed, Ripstick or Super Speed are the two that come to mind most readily, are great. If you have a system where you are swinging very, very fast, probably something that's underweight, that's what you want to do. And it would be best if you had a science-based protocol for how to do it, right? That you're not just picking it up. I pick it up some number of days of the week and I swing it some number of times. Follow some kind of system. Super Speed is great with having systems. Ripstick is improving as far as having systems explaining, saying, here, do it 3 days a week, and then after that, maybe you go to 4 days a week and use these different sets of weights, whatever. I like Ripstick because it's just one stick and you can change the weights in it. Super Speed, you have to carry around all 3 sticks. Not the biggest deal if you're training at home. If you're training somewhere else, maybe a little bit more of a hassle, but both are great. That is what I would do to gain swing speed. If you are looking to work on your fitness overall, I really like Axios Core. I think that's a great system. It's pretty expensive, and there is an ongoing cost with that, but that's a really, really good system to use as well. I am Morbs asks 200 or AI 200 for long irons, gun to my head. Please don't put a gun to my head. I would prefer not to have that. I would say the the T200s. I was looking at AI 200 thinking T200. I had the T200s. I was fit into the T200s for a combo set last release cycle for Titleist, so last year. I think those are great. Yeah, and the AI 200 is really good too. Don't get me wrong. But if you're just asking my preference, I like the T200s. Pro Medio Golf asks, what is the 2025 release that I'm most excited for? So I mentioned this a second ago. A common misconception is that I have like sneak peeks of everything, that I know everything that's coming out for the next 4 years. I don't. When I launched the site 11 years ago, that was kind of toward the end of the spy pick era. And I just decided I never want to play that game. It seemed very, very short term and very silly that I'm going to rush around and piss off everybody by posting spy picks for a few hours of clicks before everybody puts it online anyway, puts it on social media. Doesn't make sense to me. So I never got involved in that game. So I don't have all those contacts of people who might feed me early stuff. My focus is always what's on the shelf that you can buy and what do you need to know about it to make a good informed decision as a golfer. That's my alley. That's my lane, and I like it. Um, I did have a fitter recently tell me about the new something because I don't want to piss people off, and I don't that I just think it's a silly lane to be in. It's much more productive for you as an audience, for me as a content creator, uh, to work with the brands, not be antagonistic. But I will say I heard something about the new Cobra drivers that I did a triple take, and I just said, "You're serious? You didn't misstate that? You mean that? That's how many adjustments there are? I'll tell you, how many adjustments there are. So that I am just really curious to see what that looks like. But outside of that, I don't know anything about 2025. That'll, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be hopefully learning a little bit more about that. B. Quinn asked my favorite head cover brand. I don't know if that's a joke with all of this. I have not gotten used to the reverse angle of this camera yet. Um, Obviously, it is swag. I think their quality, their designs, they are far past everybody else. Um, when considering bounce for bunkers, more or less, there's no simple answer to that. Do you play in sand that's really hard? Then you want less. Do you play in really fluffy sand? You want more. Are you really steep with your swing? More bounce. Are you very shallow? You want less. So it's not a simple more or less. It's fitting the situation and your swing for the right equipment for it. Kitzenberg, what is the one thing that any golfer at any skill level should do to improve? Add speed. So it's just great, a good callback there, not done intentionally. I'm not that good at this yet. Uh, Everybody should gain speed. That is the universal because speed wins. Faster golfers, longer golfers win at every level. It's a universal advantage to hit the ball farther. Um, Anything beyond that is going to be all about uh, the specific player and what level they're at. For a new golfer, just getting them to take more club because they mishit the ball so frequently, that would be amazing. That would hugely impact their scores. When you get to a scratch player, they know how to club themselves, so that's not going to be a plus for them. Um, for that player, maybe it's having one go-to shot off the tee, whereas again, go back, the high handicap player doesn't need one go-to shot. They need to stop, spraying it all over the yard. SRG53, what specific technique would I recommend when the wheels are falling off and trying to regain focus? That's a phenomenal question. If you're relatively new to the site or you just missed it at some point, go to the site and search Shanks Pinehurst. I wrote about a time when I was at Pinehurst. I was about to play number 2, and I got the Shanks. It's the only time I've ever had the Shanks. It was terrible. It was so bad. Um, I did, and I detail it in the article. I did everything I could think of. I tried, moving the ball position. I tried going slower, going faster, um, all these different things. And eventually I found an anti-shank swing for that day that worked, and it was fine. Um, you know, I, Again, I hesitate to give one kind of cover-all thing. I would say one thing that is true, something I talk about a lot, is that nobody cares how you're playing. And if you can truly embrace that and understand nobody gives a rat's rear end whether or not you hit it sideways or right into the cup, that will help alleviate some of the pressure and you might feel better. Because I think so much of this, you didn't forget how to swing a golf club. It's largely mental, right? In almost all situations, you get down on yourself, you start spiraling, and bad swings beget more bad swings. I would say simplify. Don't start thinking about a ton of internal cues. I really like tour tempo. That's a thing that I've promoted on here a lot. There's an app, there are books, but the app has tones. Da, da, da. And it's just this little rhythm, and it's a 3-to-1 ratio of backswing to downswing. And when I'm playing badly, even when I'm playing well a lot, when I'm trying to just clear out my mind, I will think about those tour tempo tones. I've seen people playing with earbuds in with the tour tempo tones, which I don't think is within the rules of golf, but I don't really care about that. I think that's a great thing to do because you're not going to think about your swing. You're not going to get too worried. I would also focus on the ball. I think a lot of people, that sounds very simple, but I think a lot of people are looking all over the place. They're watching their club as it goes back. If you can really get locked in on the ball and just be an athlete and think, I'm going to put the club face on the ball, I think that will help. I think that's a simple thing you can do to try to just go back to advancing the ball, right? Go back to playing simple, good golf. So that would be, there's a few different pieces of advice. Hopefully there's something in there that's helpful. Daniel Arias asks, what is the sign that it's time for new clubs or shafts? Phenomenal question. We live in a society that is constantly pushing that you have to have new stuff, right? So much of the industry is built on the idea that you have to replace your clubs every year. The marketing says, oh, massive gains over last year's stuff. It's just not true, right? And I really try to, hopefully you get that message from the reviews. The new stuff is better, right? Is it better in any kind of meaningful way where it's noticeable on the course to a regular player in the course of play? Usually not year over year. I always say driver, maybe every 3 years you go look at it and get fit and see if there's going to be something better. Irons, not more than every 5. If you're happy with what you've got, if you've been fit and you have good stuff, I wouldn't even go look. Unless if you just want new stuff, that's fine too. I'm not dumping on that by any means. But as far as when do I need to go look? When should I go look? 3 years for a driver, 5 years or more, 5 to 7 for irons. That would be what I would look at. And it also depends on what kind of clubs you play. Driver, I would say every 2 to 3 years, period. But if you're playing traditional irons, a traditional cavity back, and you want to stay in that, you're not going to see much difference. There's a limit to what they can do. Now you get into the multi-material stuff like what PXG does with their 0311 series. Yeah, there are gains there. That's cool, right? Multi-material heads. They can do more stuff and offer you more forgiveness. But if it's a one-piece forging, it doesn't change that much. As far as signs, like, forget about my timelines, just something you might see on the course. If you feel like your clubs are not doing the same thing they used to do, then it's time to go take a look. But that requires a lot of honesty and with yourself, a lot of honesty with yourself, that you can look at a round of golf and say, yeah, all my iron shots came up short, and it wasn't me, right? It wasn't that I was ignoring the wind. It wasn't that it was cold. It wasn't that I was hitting everything fat. It's not that I'm older or slower or tired. I hit a ton of premium shots, and they didn't go where I thought they would go. Okay, let's go in there, go to the bay, and see would a new set help you out? Or maybe the shafts have worn. They've gotten over time. Maybe the clubs have worn over time. But those would be some thoughts for you on that. Last 2 questions. Who is my favorite player on tour? Rory, for a variety of reasons. But Rory's my guy right now. Tiger, of course, but Tiger's, like, sad to say, barely on tour anymore. When he plays, I still have stupid optimism. I would love to see him win again or even just contend. But I think that's probably out of the question. My last question here, going back to Tiger. Would I rather play a bad course with Tiger and play badly, or play the number 1 course with my buddies and play well? Easy question for me, because one of those is something I could never just buy, right? I can't. I would absolutely rather play with Tiger. I don't care where it is. I don't care how badly I play. Because here's the thing: Tiger's played in countless pro-ams. He's seen people play badly, right? He knows he freaks people out. So whatever, I don't care. I'm not there for myself. I'm not there to impress Tiger Woods. He's also seen golf played at the very highest level, mainly by him. I'm not going to impress him by going out and shooting 75, right? Oh wow, look at this, look at this amateur who's like kind of okay. He doesn't care. Uh, so I would much rather play with Tiger, get to talk to him, get to pick his brain, just have the experience of being with him. Uh, doesn't matter where. I don't know what you would consider the number one course. And this is obviously, I'm speaking from a point of privilege here, but I've played Pebble Beach and I played well there. So I've had that already. I did it by myself, which was not as much fun as it could have been. But that's something I can pay for to go do again. I can't buy Tiger's time on the course. Um, so that would be the one for me. So thank you to everybody who submitted questions. Thank you to everybody who listens to the podcast. Thank you to the new YouTube audience. Again, please like, rate, subscribe, leave a comment, recommend this to a friend. It's all very much appreciated. If you have more questions, you don't have to wait for me to put up a mailbag. You can always send questions in or topics, people you'd like me to talk to on here, people you'd like me to interview. But again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon.